Hi, we present here the most fundamental and yet the most neglected steps to acquire spoken language skill in any language. The most fundamental steps to acquire spoken language skill in any language are listen, understand, repeat. But in most of the traditional methods of teaching a spoken language, the stress is on studying the language rather than on practice. This is under the belief that students will understand the language and then use the language properly when the syntax and grammar of that particular language is explained. This is partly true because the student will understand the language and become capable of processing it very well if it has been studied very well. Unfortunately, this is only partly true. Spoken language differs from subjects like mathematics and science. Understanding and mastering all the rules and grammar of the language alone will not make the learner fluent in that language. Fluency needs a lot of practice. So, it is important to look for a teacher who has all the patience to explain and repeat a single sentence multiple times and ensure the student too to understand and repeat it several times till the student is confident of using that sentence at the appropriate situation. This is how we would have learned the language that we speak most fluently. We would have had several teachers because as a child we would have listened and observed every word spoken by others to us, tried to understand them and then repeat them at any given opportunity. And over a period of time, our complex brain would have started coining new sentences on its own and delivered. Thus became us to speak that language so fluently. Now, to acquire a new language within a limited period of time, we need a super teacher. It is humanly very difficult to fit into this role model of a teacher. So we have software that does precisely this. It will make the student listen and then makes the student understand and repeat every single sentence several times. And ultimately, it lets the student to record and listen and compare what he says with what has actually been said. If the student is pleased with his performance, he may go ahead with the next exercise and keeps progressing. Now, what we have achieved here is what has not been possible in most of the traditional methods: unlimited practice. What else can be better than practice that makes a man perfect? With around 5,000 sentences describing different situations and roles, we expect a student with just 10% grasping potential to be good enough to acquire at least 500 sentences by the end of the course. A minimum of 500 sentences and phrases that will be at the tip of the tongue and that can be used readily and delivered in different circumstances. From then on, the student will march confidently to speak more and more fluently. This is our program. Do you bet on it? Coming back to the traditional program. In this program, we teach the students using the traditional method of classroom teaching with the aid of some modern technology tools like TV and computers. Here, the role of the teacher is very important. The entire course depends upon the teacher's expertise in handling students and teaching. This is how teaching had been carried on for years. Great efforts and commitments are required from both students and teachers. There will be tremendous limitation in providing individual attention to students. Also, one of the most important components ensuring command over the spoken language is extensive practice. This is not possible in the traditional classroom teaching, even though expert understanding about the usage of language and its grammar and structure are possible. But mere understanding alone will not make one fluent in that language. This is amply clear from many of the non-native English speakers, highly qualified in the field of English, but still lacking that fluency and command over English while speaking. Their high qualification and learning provides them a thorough knowledge of English. Even their vocabulary will be multiple times more than a normal person's. Contradictorily, we may observe many of us speak so fluently and have a wonderful command over our mother tongue, but surprisingly, we may not know much about the grammar and structure of that language. But we will have no problem in speaking. Some of us may not even know to read and write our mother tongue, but still we are very good while speaking. This happens because of our extensive practice in speaking that language. We listen, we repeat, and then we get used to it. Of course, our brain knows how to proceed from then on. It coins new phrases and new sentences depending upon the situation we are in, using its database of experiences and practices. Now, about the new program. Word Power, the Verbal Gym. Here, we are going to make use of the most natural method of learning a new language. Listen, understand, and repeat. The program will cover the regular day-to-day activities of any human being by providing many conversations and narrations, preparing us to face those situations. We will learn new words, simple sentences, monologues, dialogues, conversations, narrations, reports, explanations, negotiations, reasoning and convincing, and ultimately to present oneself very clearly to another person or group of persons. The method we adopt is nothing out of the blue. It is very simple common sense, just like the trick that works in bodybuilding, cycling, walking, running, typewriting, playing and singing. Practice. This will work for speaking too. To highlight the difference between the traditional program and our new program, let us work on this simple example. A regular traditional English coaching institute may conduct a 2.5 months course to teach spoken English. Assuming that there would be 3 classes a week, each class for 2 hours, for a total of 60 hours in 2.5 months, and the strength of the class as 10 students, statistically, each student may get about 12 minutes of personalized attention in every class. But usually, the teacher will take half the time for theory and explanations in every class. So, each student may only get about 6 minutes towards personalized attention and practice during every class. This works out to 18 minutes per week and 180 minutes or 3 hours during the entire course of 2.5 months. Here, a student gets to practice for just 3 hours during the entire course of 2.5 months. Of course, the student would have learned quite a lot on English and about English, but the practice time is not sufficient to make the student fluent in English. The new program, designed for 100 hours, will make you sit in front of the computer, put on your headphone and mic, and then the drill starts and will end after 2 hours for 5 days a week and 40 sessions. In the weekends, you will have a total of 8 sessions of live programs and group activities and role plays to put into action what you have practiced under an expert guidance. We have ensured that you will love the drill to some extent by making our content interesting for practice. But definitely, we may not be able to give you the kind of pleasure and happiness that you may have when you eat an ice cream. If you could appreciate this difference and carry on with the practice, you will end up speaking fluent English or whatever language you have practiced. Even though the whole program is computer oriented, you will have a guide who watches your progress and helps you while practicing. This is one aspect that will not be found in most of the self-learning programs available across the counter of any leading bookshop. There is a sea of difference this could make in your effort and learning. The integrated recording device in the software helps you to record your speech and compare it with the original. You will have a profound satisfaction when you do it right, and this will motivate you to go to the next step. This way, you will reach the level of confidence that is required to speak without fear or nervousness. The right feeling that tells you that you are on the right track will remove all those fear and nervousness. Now, you will have no mental inhibition to speak. Shattering the myth. We don't believe in making you speaking in English when you aren't sure if your English is right or wrong. From day one, you will start practicing the right way and will end up speaking in the right way. Now, we will have a break for question and answer session. To summarize, what we have for you is a course that is totally independent of any qualified person to handle the sessions, that is 100% based on one-to-one interaction, that is immune to tiredness or exhaustion, that gives no possibility for human errors, that will succeed. And the secret of success is practice, practice, practice. Now, we will present a short demo on the academic exercise and then go for the most interesting aspect, the financial returns, and then close the entire presentation with all of your doubts clarified.